All right, Stephen Dana, have supervisor status output dot column aligned. Did we change how we were formatting that output?
We it didn't look like that before. Yeah, let me see. I don't have a supervisor running with me, but yeah, it used to be column aligned.
It definitely used to be. This is changed just in version 56. I noticed this just yesterday.
Right. So like what we would do is just open pipeline there, just put it in the backlog, and then choose the appropriate labels. So this I don't know if this would be like if you open that up, you'll see several labels. So you can choose the one for probably supervisor, I think, or maybe no. It's actually I'm not sure which one it would be. It might be CLI.
Supervisor.
Supervisor. Okay.
Yeah.
And then just sort of from the groups there, just sort of choose the ones that apply as you go.
Put that in the supervisor vertical. I don't then assign this at this
No,
point.
we usually just stop there.
Right.
And then, yeah.
Cool.
That's good.
So this is one that Matt found.
You can probably just put that straight in the backlog since Matt already has all the labels on it and cited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I discovered that yesterday and almost whacked my C drive, which would have been exciting. And my goal is to make it so that nobody else does that as well. So, yeah, I would just put that in the backlog.
Okay. This one's also Matt.
Oh yeah, that was so we ran into that with a customer. I had kind of made a first stab that wasn't really working to address that, and there's other more important stuff I need to work on. So I just created the issues just so I wouldn't forget about it. We need to make it so that IIS can run under a different identity, and so in that case, you have to pass in certain configuration data. We came up with a dirty workaround for that, but we need a more clean way of handling that with our DSC core package that allows users to wrap desired state configuration calls in Habitat.
Sounds good. Let's see, NPM is called to set some values. All right, so this would be in the node core. Probably.
Yeah, and there'll be a vertical. There's a vertical for core plans as well, and then you can just throw it under pipeline. You can put it into backlog.
Cool. Right, supervisor client crashes if the client is killed before response is sent.
Well, I trust Steve and Dana. So I would assume since he's provided some repro steps, we probably should just accept it as a bug.
That's a great comment he has there. The backtrace isn't too useful.
Supervisor. All right. Blocking a knit hook prevents further supervisor interaction. Seems like a bug.
Actually, I think that's a known issue. It'd be interesting. Is this okay? 056. So if you block on any hook other than run, you basically are creating a lock in the event loop for the supervisor. I believe I'm not sure if this is part of the next phase that Jamie's working on to fix kind of the threading model for the supervisor, but right now that's a known.
All right, we could maybe leave this in needs triage, and I can tag Jamie to take a look. Set it there for now.
Try and find me. Will you try and find me?
Oh, this looks like
more useful backtrace there.
I'm gonna get Watson.
Okay, that looks familiar.
Yeah, that looks like futures.
Doesn't look good.
The output when it succeeds. All right.
And it seems worth investigating.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might be the same issue as that one we just saw from Steve and Dana. Only worth taking a look at.
I love that idea. I'm sure it's come up before. Ian's probably seen it in various forums. It's like whenever you want to run Habitat as a service, you have to go through the shenanigans of setting up the service goo yourself, like a systemd thing or something. You got to go and put the stuff where it goes and everything. It'd be nice if there were just some way that some magical way of doing that automatically. I'm sure this has come up over the years. It would be cool, but I don't know what. I don't have any other thoughts on it than that. Sophisticated as that would be.
Personally, if somebody were to write the feature, I don't think it would get denied. I wouldn't have the inclination to deny it if there was a way to programmatically generate those init scripts. So it may not look like this specifically, but I think help wanted is probably a good place for it. It can probably get labeled and dumped in the backlog. In my opinion, I don't know if anybody else have other strong opinions on it.
I mean, it sounds like this is a slightly different approach to the same problem, but help wanted works.
I mean, basically, he just wants a helper script that looks like for like installing a systemd unit or on Windows, it would be a Windows service. And I'm like, I know we have methods for doing that both, and we have like cryptic documentation, or I mean, not incredibly cryptic, but yeah, it would be really cool if we just had like a supported command that just like did the bit of work that you have to do to set that up.
Yeah, it'd be a semi-delightful little thing to not have to worry about that yourself. Yeah.
It's inevitable that will happen in production. Like, you will always want that in production, I would think. I mean, unless I guess maybe not so much in Docker, but on a VM or bare metal.
Surprising, annoying behavior.
It's comments worth reading through, I think.
So he's filing a feature request.
I thought that we stopped supporting HabStart anyway. Like it looks like it tries to do something. Is that right? I thought HabStart went away entirely. I thought it became like HabSoup run. So I'm surprised that even. But yeah, he's making the argument that like
HabStart does seem to work
with 56.
I think the semantics are just slightly, or the nuances are slightly different. So like where HabStart used to like actually like go and pull down the service and actually start the supervisor if it was running. Now I think like you can load a service and when you first load a service, it also starts it. And then you can stop that service. So it'll still be loaded and stopped it. And then you do a HabStart to like restart that service, that loaded service. And I've seen this before, like, and I think it is like really confusing because right now, so now what would happen if you did a HabStart and it wasn't loaded and it wasn't installed, you get this. And it's totally confusing because you think like the first time I saw this, I'm thinking, well, what's going on? Because I know that package exists in the depot that I'm, in the depot. But what it's really saying is it can't locate the service locally, which wasn't what I was thinking. That's what it means. But yeah, it just seems like we could use some real error message clarification there. So it's not a bug, but it's a documentation issue.
Yeah, and maybe some UX or usability discussion could be had around it too, because
Yeah.
it sounds like, I mean, this is
It's surprising and annoying.
surprising and annoying, and the submitter is like a, you know, somebody we know well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Plan variables do not interpolate when iterating over an array. Oh, interesting. Well,
Like Elliot already has the solution. There.
yep, I think so.
You probably close this then and then just say reopen it if there's still problems.
Yeah, and I think he actually worked with Scott on that, so I think Scott already knows. I think it's probably definitely safe to close.
Cool. How to load servers asynchronously.
Yeah, this is like you have. Is this because you have to do a hab soup run before you can do a hab service load? I think with 56. This is kind of similar to the last thing where it's like this behavior is surprising to users moving from 55 to 56. And yes, you can solve it with documentation, and we did. We tried to, CM and I and others, I think, tried to go through and make sure the docs were updated to reflect that you need to do this, but it's still a little rough from a UX perspective.
Yeah, it is. It's a challenge too, because if you the nuance in the way things work is different. Having to start the supervisor in order to load the service, it functions totally differently than it did before. So now you have, if you load a service, if you have service load and the supervisor is not started, I believe what happens is you get this error. The supervisor is running, then it will load and start the service. Otherwise, if you do a hab service start and you load the service, you're fine. The problem is if you're doing virtual machines, which chances are you are if you're using an initd script, and then what you end up in this state is where you can't have a single command that runs that you can't use the start command effectively, because what ends up happening is the supervisor is already running. So you go and you try to start that service, it just dies. It just doesn't start back up unless it's already in a stopped state. So it feels a little confusing. I mean, it is a breaking change. We expected that, but I'm not sure what the appropriate thing is here for. This is like the third time I've seen this in the last week, this specifically in relation to initd.
Maybe for this particular case, we ought to just respond in the particular issue, let them know about the change and how that works, and then would it be possible to add a response in the command line where instead of just erroring out when there is no such command, pointing him to the right updated command. So the command line outputs and says like, hey, this is how things are done now. I suppose that would be considered documentation then. By the way, if it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, yeah, I think you're good. I think adding documentation and chore, and then just leaving a quick comment that it kind of points to the current documentation, but lets them know that like we think that there may be some bugs in that documentation. Is probably all that you need to do for this one.
Chris, you said that you worked on that new documentation. Do you have a link to that?
Why don't I pick this up from here, and then you can move on to the next issue, and I'll kind of round this out with some comments and links to things and stuff. Cool. Since you've got the labels on, and I'll pick it up from here.
Yeah, I'll shoot that link to you.
Just so you can move on is all.
All right. Items missing from the run path. Seems like a core plans issue. Matt, is this something that you've seen?
No, OOMS SQL. No, this is the one for Linux. I haven't used this in like over a year. In fact, I thought I didn't remove it, but I haven't. It doesn't ring a bell. Has no dependencies. That's weird.
That's ZenHub. It's this.
So,
Just not finding those particular libraries.
let me look for that plan in core plans, see what it's. In a SQL. Oh, it has depths. Yeah, I don't know. No.
All right. Put it in backlog. Allow user to find stop hook.
I think that's a pretty cool idea. I don't know how we would implement it, but I don't know that it matters. I think it might be a good thing for people that need to have the prolonged shutdown and validation of that shutdown, as opposed to like, we just terminate it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can think of a few instances where that would come in handy, especially in, like on the Windows side where I deal with, where like it's just not a matter of shutting down a service or of terminating a process. It's something else, and we have to like do kind of wacky stuff to accommodate that right now.
Would be neat. Studio C groups. I have no idea what this is.
So there should be C groups inside the studio, I believe. Let me see. Oh no, that's right. I don't think we do mount C groups inside the studio. Elliot would know more about this because he fucked around in that code for a lot last year. I think that is correct behavior. If Mesos needs that to build, it's possible that we won't be able to build it, but that's going to need some further validation. I would definitely assign that to Elliot, and I'll ping him and tell him he's probably going to need to take a look.
Take it from there. Then this one, which is quite old, 20 days to learn chef tutorial is inaccurate. I think we're all aware that the learn chef is inaccurate.
Yeah. And this has got some responses.
And it was closed. It's reopened at some point. CM reopened it.
Looks like it can be closed now.
Yeah, I'm gonna assign it to CM.
Is it resolved? Hang on, I just want to see if it's the last little bit there. If we can read just before she says she's good to go. Like what? Missing stuff. Yeah, can you just like add this to the document, throw it in documentation and add it to front end, and I'll follow up on it to make sure that it works the way it's supposed to. I don't know if we have anybody that we can, give this to on the Learn Chef side. I think we probably have to do it ourselves just to make sure it's right. So I can do that, or we can do that.
Okay. All right, I think that does it. Cool. Well, thank you guys for helping me stumble through that clumsily.
Not at all. Well done, sir.
Hopefully it'll be smooth sailing next time.
Bye.
Yeah.